You're listening to The Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Domashevitz.
Aha! There we go.
This is the patriotic edition.
Yes! I got the white and blue, and then I got red shorts.
Nice.
I noticed that you got the blue shirt, the red hat, and the white R.
I didn't focus on any of that.
Justin's not
I
patriotic.
don't love my country, I guess. I don't know.
I just literally looked over because I didn't know what you were wearing.
I have blue,
You got
but
blue?
it's the wrong blue.
Yeah.
I usually think that you're wearing the wrong blue.
Yeah, I also did. I didn't.
So,
So,
I'm Daniel
I'm
Hargrove.
Justin Domashevitz. We also have our trusty producer, Andrew Gross, over here with us, fixing everything while Daniel and I sat around, not being remotely helpful
No, or productive.
or productive. But
We
happy,
talked about sports things.
happy
That's true.
3rd of July.
Yes.
We're going to make this a brief episode because
Because I'm wearing briefs.
Daniel's wearing tighty-whitey briefs, and a couple of us have a July 3rd party to go to for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's
like
weird.
a 3rd of July party,
Yeah, 3rd of July.
but whatever.
I love the idea because it means I don't have to stay up late on the 4th. I probably will anyway, but
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's when the fireworks happen. Are they doing fireworks on
yeah,
this
we're doing
3rd?
fireworks tonight.
Interesting. Some fireworks started last night around my
Oh,
neighborhood.
Yeah, we had fireworks going off here.
Yeah. Which, maybe we'll have some discussion in the mailbag about fireworks-related topics.
But for now, let's get it going with the 2-minute drill.
Let's go, hurry up! Gotta hurry. Hey, 2-minute situation, 44 seconds, hand the ball to ref. Gonna do it right. 3-jet Buckeye, don't worry.
The 2-minute drill starts now.
The Portland Trailblazers made some big moves this week, signing Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, and GP2. So excited about that. Gary Payton 2 multi-year contracts. Justin, with those signings, along with the trade for Jeremy Grant and the drafting of Shaedon Sharpe, was the Blazers roster good enough?
Good enough to make Dame happy, maybe. Good enough to make a serious push in the playoffs in the Western Conference. No chance.
Ooh.
Because basically, you're putting yourself back in a situation that's a pretty similar roster to what they've had in the past, except now you're hoping that Anthony Simons is going to end up being as good as CJ McCollum, and I don't think that's a guarantee. I'm happy with all the moves they make. I like every single player that they have, but they need to do something bigger. They need to make some kind of a big splashy move, or anything that they do, any success that they have is going to all be on Dame's shoulders, and we've seen how that ends before.
The West is good.
UCLA and USC will be leaving the Pac-12 to join the Big Ten starting in 2024. Daniel, what does this mean for the rest of the conference?
It is absolutely brutal. It is brutal for the rest of the conference because if they're trying to play in the same college system as we know now, their conference has just been decimated of all national notoriety. I mean, regardless of how good USC and UCLA have been the past few years, that is the opportunity of this conference to get back into national notoriety is when USC and UCLA get good. And that probably would only contract with no opt-outs built in. Ugh. Justin, why on earth would the Nets trade this man?
I mean, from a business perspective, it would make no sense to trade him. From a basketball perspective, it would make no sense to trade him. But on a personal level, like if you're part of the Brooklyn Nets front office, wouldn't you be like, kind of get this dude away from me? Like,
Yeah.
What do I have to do to get rid of you? Because you're a headache in my life that I don't want to have to deal with anymore.
Yeah.
Is the only possible reason I can think of for trading him at all. 3 years ago, when Kevin Durant signed with the Brooklyn Nets, they knew going into it he was going to miss an entire year.
Yeah.
He convinced them to bring in the biggest head case in the world, Kyrie Irving, who proved to be an incredibly unreliable player.
And he's right up there with his teammate, who he also convinced to bring in.
Yeah, and he also, Kevin Durant also convinced them to sign DeAndre Jordan, who's a totally washed version of himself, to a massive $40 million contract. And he also was the main driving force in getting Harden out of town, which was another big player. Now you got Simmons in return. Everything in Brooklyn is a disaster. It's all Kevin Durant's fault. And in 3 years, he's played 90 games. If I'm Brooklyn, I know basketball-wise this is stupid, but get this dude away from me. That's how I feel about that. The Seattle Mariners enter Sunday having won 9 of their last 12 games and will be playing for their 4th straight series win. The M's are still 4 games under 500 and 13.5 games behind the Astros at the top of the division. Daniel, has the recent surge made you more optimistic about the playoffs this season?
Yes. No, it was okay.
I'm getting really bad at this buzzer.
I was hoping that you
really
had
bad at it.
Sometimes you have a really quick trigger, and I was just kind of hoping that we had that mind meld. But
I thought there was a possibility that as soon as the word Kevin Durant came out of your mouth in the question, that Andrew was just going to buzz us.
Yeah.
And
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
so
I'm joking.
he used to play with your favorite basketball player,
Oh, cool.
Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah, for what, a year?
2
years. So I think I'm more optimistic about the Mariners. Not for any good reasons, but for the outlying, trying to make myself optimistic reasons. That I would think that baseball analytics people are more about than I normally am. So first of all, they're really injured, right? So that's the easy one to point to is, hey, if they can get through this next stretch of games before... Andrew just posted a GIF inside our Google Doc, and I didn't know that was possible.
I didn't realize that you were looking at that.
This is a first for our show.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had a GIF in the show sheet.
So if they can get through this next couple of weeks before the All-Star break, okay. Like, I'm talking still end up 2 games under 500 going into the All-Star break. I think that things are looking up because you have multiple injuries that you're hoping people come back from. You're seeing already Kyle Lewis is starting a rehab stint. Mitch Haniger should be starting one soon. Ty France, that's sketchy. You don't know if Ty France is coming back.
It sounded really optimistic until Mike Salk was talking to Jerry Dipoto,
Yeah.
and Jerry Dipoto said, if.
Ugh.
And it's like, wait, hold up.
Yeah, exactly. I know. They were saying, 10-day injured list, hopefully he can be back when that, and it sounded like,
Ty France was saying, yeah, I'm hoping that it isn't too much more than the 10 days.
yeah. And then all of a sudden you heard if he comes back this year, and you're like, what?
Hold up.
Yeah, so they have getting Carlos Santana though. If everybody else can get healthy and stay healthy, Carlos Santana is the type of player that can still get you to the playoffs. And I'm big if, but that means that Jesse Winker continues to play up to his baseball card, which he's done the last few weeks. Julio Rodriguez continues to be the best rookie in the league by far. Kyle Lewis comes back and hits like he seems to always have, and he stays healthy, and the stays healthy is the big part, and he can be your DH. Mitch Haniger comes back, and he stays healthy, and he is Mitch Haniger from last year, and he plays right field. If those 4 things happen, Carlos Santana is a playoff caliber first baseman. His on-base percentage is good. He will take a ton of walks. He hits dingers. His batting average isn't great. He plays a good defensive first base. So that's okay. They can withstand a long-term France injury if those other things happening. Now, obviously, those other things happening are big ifs too. Now, the second level is, though, they have gone through this amount of injuries with some interesting stats. One is their run production is vastly lower than their team on base percentage suggests it should be. So if that evens out, that's great. But even with that, their run production outperforms their record right now. Because before a couple of games ago, so now they're probably either +1 or right even again.
I think they're even.
Are they even again?
I'll look it up.
So their run production is even, and yet their record is below 500. And usually your run differential is a pretty good indicator of what your team should be. So
they're +1.
So they're +1. So if they're on base percentage starts to produce more runs, as it usually suggests, and their run production then increases even more from what it is, then their record should increase as their schedule evens out, which to this point has been the hardest schedule of the entire major leagues. And for the rest of the way, it's supposed to be like mid-20s easiest, So it's there's some things that point to this getting better. That's why I'm optimistic. It's not as much, the last few games. It's like, yeah, they've beat up some crappy teams. Good. At least they're showing that they are beating the teams they should. Was that too much? Was that too little?
Obviously.
I feel like it stinks of Mariners optimism.
No, but you need...
I agree with everything that you said. The only counterpoint, and it's a big counterpoint, and I'm not ready to argue it, but I'm just going to put it out there. They're cursed, and they'll never be able to score runs or get guys in with runners in scoring position regularly until they figure out how to break the curse.
So to me, the big thing really
that's not the side I'm taking. I'm sorry, Justin.
No, you're good. I was just
wanna
saying the
make
big
clear.
thing is
Yeah.
the injuries
Yeah.
because, you have 3 guys out of your roster that are proven high-level productive hitters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if and when France, Lewis, and Haniger come back and they are themselves, the team's going to be way better. They're going to have an easier schedule, but, those are question marks I don't know how to address.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the situations surrounding return dates on these injuries have been very vague and gray. And why the heck has Kyle Lewis been out so long?
Yeah, at least he's that one. Finding out that he's going to be playing outfield in a rehab stint, is huge because he's been out with that mystery, those concussion symptoms for a long time.
Over a month, right?
Yeah, it's very reminiscent to D. Eskridge from the Seahawks, and he came back and played football at a pretty good level. So I feel kind of optimistic hearing that he is now getting ready to play baseball again.
I was really excited to see that to hear that he was going to be playing significant time in the field.
That's a good
because
point.
Previously he would even when he was up with the Mariners after his rehab stint, he was still not playing the field and not even running.
Yeah.
He was hitting and jogging to first.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we got some optimism there. We know what Mitch Haniger's injury is, and that should be... The problem is Mitch Haniger, I'm surprised he doesn't roll it, sprain his ankle every time he swings.
And now that he's done it, how much more likely is it to happen again?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Unless
that's
he
why
changes things.
I'm assuming that's why it has taken so long for him to come back, is because they needed to be 100%, not 80 or 90.
Yeah.
Because that's how his swing is, and it's always freaked me out. You look at a slow-mo swing of Mitch Haniger, his ankle is doing weird stuff every time.
I'm not a baseball player. Is it possible for him to literally just tape the crap out of that and remove that flexibility so it literally can't happen? Or will that ruin his swing?
I know. I think that.
He could definitely try it.
I would try it. In my mind, having taped the crap out of so many ankle injuries, I'd do it. So, I don't see why he couldn't. But anyway, that's my thought on the Mariners. I think their starting pitching has been pretty darn good over, for the most part of the season. I think their bullpen is starting to show some improvements. At the trade deadline, that's what I want to see. And then if you can improve your depth somehow offensively, then great. But I think mainly if they're going to make it this season, the problem is these injured guys are like linchpins, to their future. So they're not exactly guys that you want to replace via trade.
Other than Haniger.
That's true.
Haniger's awesome.
In that wishy-washy area, right?
Yeah.
But France, you want him to be your guy for the future. Kyle Lewis... There's no real... he's had so many injuries that I don't think their value is too high for him right now because he hasn't shown it for multiple years. So Haniger is really the only, up-in-the-air type player, right? And that's only because you're still expecting Kelenic to turn into something. And that's the other thing. Trammell, he's not proven, but he was a good player this season so far, and he's hurt too. It has just been absolutely bonkers.
Hamstring.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. I mean, it feels like the Seahawks the last few seasons. Or the Mariners the last. I mean, it just feels like Seattle sports. Ugh.
Something in the air.
What should we get to next? I mean, besides the fact that Mike
You wanna
Trout
laugh
has
at
a
Mike Trout?
horrible day.
Because that's where the GIF is in our show sheet
Yes.
that we teased earlier,
So-
which no one can see. But it's that kid from The Simpsons going,
Nelson.
So glad Shannon Drayer mentioned this on the Mariners pregame today. Mike Trout today, on Sunday, struck out 3 times on 9 pitches.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, I hate to see it. And you know what? He also struck out 4 times on the day. But the last time he struck out apparently was on 4 pitches. Many fans have pointed out that it was a bad call, and that also should have been on 3 pitches. So Mike Trout struck out 4 times today on 13 pitches. Oh,
That's
that makes me
awesome.
so happy.
yeah.
Somebody should.
Am I
somebody
petty?
should buy that pitcher a pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
Sports fans are petty
Yes.
by nature. So
I love it.
yes, petty, but also it's okay.
Yeah, petty and superstitious.
Yeah.
I'll get into more of the
That's half the
superstition later because I got called out for my superstition by somebody recently.
It's Justin that's a little stitches.
Yeah, a little stitious. I'm
I support
superstitious.
sports superstitions.
Yeah.
I really do.
I do too.
Yeah.
It really is part of the fun.
Yeah.
Like sports hate.
Justin, what do you want to get into next? I just wrote stuff down on the show
Yeah.
sheet. I didn't have a particular order that I was
Well-
putting them in. I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget about
I'm
it.
intrigued by college football fix.
So here's the thing. I didn't think this was going to happen so fast. I thought that this was going to, and maybe it isn't so fast because we were talking about this a long time ago, right? The super conferences. I mean, that was 3, 4, 5 years ago where this first topic was brought up.
And this isn't happening until they're not leaving until 2024.
2024.
Which is gonna make the next few years awkward.
Really weird, right? Like, I'm just picturing, like, you know, Utah players just punching guys under the pile, just like, you guys are leaving us. And the guys are like, it's not our fault.
I was
Stop."
imagining it more like fist fights in the boxes.
Yes. Between the presidents, the college presidents.
or ads.
Why are you guys leaving us? No, okay, so I think most of us think this way, that the system of college football has many flaws. Do we all agree on, like, especially before NIL, name, image, likeness? The system of college football being a multi-billion-dollar industry. Thank you. I was like, corporation? Industry. And the players getting nothing is flawed. And
Not nothing. They
Yeah.
got scholarships.
they got scholarships, which I think shouldn't. I mean, now is more undervalued than it ever has been before. So I am more on the bandwagon of that means less now, because if you get a college degree, it means less now than it did before, right? So
And it costs more.
but it does cost more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the value, in some ways, it goes up and down. But my way to fix this actually solves some more societal issues that we hear about this as well. So one of the big issues with college sports, right, is that some teams have better opportunities for facilities, somebody just honked. Who the heck lives around here? We're out in the middle of nowhere. Is that somebody just down at the street? Yeah. Okay. Somebody's just down at the street. Weird. Anyway, so there's a big difference in how crazy fans are, which means to more support, which means to higher players, which means to, you know, you have better facilities and, you know, maybe more sketchy situations with funding getting funneled in towards players before the name, image, likeness. Now they have more of a legal way to give that money. So my very quick fix that I thought of literally driving here is, part of it comes from my dad, who was like, you cap the salaries of coaches. Because right now, the coaches are the ones making the most money on this college football industry. But, well, maybe not the most money, because I mean
Executives, yeah.
the TV deals in the school, like, it's insane. But they're making a ton of money. So my thought would go further than that. You cap the funding of every football program. So you have a cap for the highest paid head coach. You have a cap for then the budget on paying coaches below him. You have a cap for how you do facilities after that. And then you have a cap for maybe even how much money you give the players with that. And I think then outside of that cap, you're like, wait a second. There's billions of dollars of TV deals around this, right? So what happens to all of that extra money? We have a talking point of this country of college should be free, right? All the extra money just goes to like reducing college prices for every student. For the football players, the basketball players, the dude just going to get a sociology degree. It all just goes into that bucket of paying tuition. So yeah, it might not make it free for everybody, but all of that money just goes to all of the schools to help pay college tuition, because college tuition is bonkers right now. So all of that TV money, instead of just going to the football program or the athletic program, goes to the entire school, and college coaches are capped. The players are getting some of the money. All of the coaches are getting capped. The facilities, you can't just go buy these multi-billion-dollar facilities, so kids want to go to your school too much more than anybody else. Like, everything's capped, levels the playing field, and then the extra funding, because, let's be honest, the TV still wants to put money into this because everybody still wants to watch it. It still goes somewhere. It goes somewhere productive, though.
Do you think do you think that the conferences or schools would be less motivated to make as much money if they can't put all that money into the program? So like the idea of having all this extra money that then goes towards things like lowering college tuition across the board, would they just be like, maybe we won't need to or they'll figure out some kind of other way to benefit themselves rather than, getting all this extra money in the deal? Do they do something different? I can't think of what that thing would be, and I don't know economics well enough to
Me either.
To really, I don't know how to poke holes in it because I don't know economics well enough. I like the idea of college tuition being reduced because holy cow, it's crazy expensive, and I don't really understand why.
Yeah.
I think in general, I tend to support a little bit more of a capitalistic free market thing, because I think the cap can end up with people not getting what they're worth.
It's true.
But to me, that's why, like, from the beginning, I've always thought college players need to get some kind of compensation, and the easiest thing in the world to me, and I know we've talked about this, I've been saying this for years, how is controlling your name, image, and likeness not the most logical, easy thing in the world?
Right.
Why did it take so long for them to say, yeah, everyone else in the entire world is allowed to make money off their name, you guys can too?
Exactly.
The signing, the scandals that there have been, like, what was it, Johnny Manziel, that there was a big deal about how he was like signing autographs, like, just ridiculous,
right?
Just absolutely ridiculous.
No, so I follow a lot of golf channels on YouTube, right? There's this golfer who made trick shots. Like, he did trick shots for golf on YouTube and was so popular, he made some money for it. The NCAA said that he could not play college golf unless he deleted his channel.
Yeah, so that's part of the thing with NIL.
Mind-boggling.
While people freak out about like all the big money that these guys are getting, because now people are like, oh god, we never wanted it to be this way. Blah.
Yeah.
But like, there's the complete other end of NIL, which I listened to a podcast that had one of the like NIL directors from a university, and they're like, people don't understand like the percentage of athletes. Like, some athletes are just not interested in it. They want to put their head down, focus on their sport, focus on their schooling, and not worry about the NIL. Some of them, like, are getting business degrees. So, like, it actually benefits them in their education to also learn about this stuff.
Yeah.
They are supported. They have all the information they need. But even things like, North Carolina, for example, has a really great tennis player. That tennis player can't give lessons and charge for them. because but now they can. But like previously, they would not have been allowed to give a lesson and charge $50 or host a camp for kids to teach them, the ins and outs and the basics of tennis and then make any money off of it. Like they can't have a TikTok. They couldn't have a TikTok account and have any kind of influencer money coming in from anything.
Yeah.
And like there's this set of twins that I think goes to Fresno State. They're the Cavender twins, and when they were in high school, they got massively TikTok famous for like all of these cool basketball videos that they did, and they were not allowed to make any money off of it because they knew they wanted to be eligible to play college basketball. And it's like, who knows what their opportunities for making money off of basketball will be after college. So their prime time for making money was high school and college, and they couldn't until this NIL stuff passed through. They couldn't make any money off of it. So like, yeah, people are looking at this NIL, like there was a report out there about a Miami player getting $9 million or something, and it's kind of proven to not really be true, but people are freaking out about the large amounts of money, and I get it, but I'm looking at it going like, these guys are getting what they're worth. Like college athletes have been oppressed as a group financially, and people who want, like high school kids who want to play college, it's the same thing. You make yourself ineligible, and now I much prefer what's going on now to what we had previously.
Yeah, and I think the NIL, so the system was broken already, and in my opinion, it was living on eggshells, right? And the main eggshell that it was living on was the players weren't getting paid. It's a billion-dollar industry. Players aren't getting paid. Now they're getting something. And I think this is where Mike Salk, who I disagree with on so many things, and half the time I want to punch him in the face.
That's his specialty.
Which is, you're right. I feel like that's his niche, right?
Yes.
Is it a niche or a niche?
Depends on how much you make per year.
Okay.
Anyway, I feel like
a vase or a vase.
I feel like he was correct in saying that largely it was still running on the same principles of, hey, I go to school here and you go to school here and we're both playing on football teams. Let's play against each other. That was still a huge part of the governing rules of college athletics. And it's just not that anymore.
That's an amateur sport.
Exactly.
That's unpaid people who are doing it for fun.
Exactly. That's me and you playing for Washington State University rugby.
Yes.
And going to play Oregon State in rugby. But that's not what we're dealing with here anymore, in especially football and basketball. And on a much smaller scale, baseball, women's basketball.
I feel like baseball
and women's basketball are fairly comparable in college athletics because not too many people pay attention, and the only ones who do only pay attention to the College World Series and the Women's Basketball National Tournament. Is that fair?
It might be. I was going to say, I feel like baseball is in a different situation because it's normal for guys to graduate high school and go straich to the pros.
That's true. That's also a big difference.
I feel like that's a big difference where, I think there wasn't as much twisted out of whack there wasn't as much market distortion, to use an economic term, because guys that really wanted to make money or were really worth money were skipping college and going straight to minor leagues, but pros right away, whereas most of the guys playing college baseball chose to play college baseball instead of going pro.
That makes sense.
That's definitely not possible in football.
Yeah.
That is kind of possible in basketball, though, isn't it?
It's kind of possible. You have to take a year off.
Oh, right. Because
you have to be a year out of high school.
Okay, yeah.
You have to be 19 and you have to be 1 year removed from high school to play. Okay. And I think that might be the rule for being eligible to be drafted. You might have to be 19.
Okay.
But a lot of guys that, like the NBA now has it set up where the elitist of elite players can choose to go into the G League if they want to.
Yeah.
And that's a way of skipping that 1 year.
I'm glad they
before
have that.
eligibility. Yeah. Or like some guys choose to go play international. There's been some guys.
Or
who
some guys choose to go to a Power 5 major college for basketball and then just not play.
Shaden Sharp.
I heard about that. That's interesting. It worked out for him, right?
It did. I mean, I don't know. So he was the number 1 player in his entire class, and he was drafted 7th. So I guess it kind of worked out.
I think so. I mean, just by being drafted 7th, he's going to get his guaranteed 2 years are probably going to be what, like $15 million or something.
Like that.
There's a lot of money in his decision. It's weird though, because, and I know we've had this conversation before, like if somebody was playing football, and they're like, oh, I don't want to risk being injured, so I'm going to skip my, like, I have a lot more on it, but it's basketball, and I think it's been proven that unless you have some kind of catastrophic injury, basketball teams don't hold that against you if you get hurt in college. Like look at Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving decided to go to Duke for a year, and he missed like 3/4 of the season. He still got drafted number 1 overall because the NBA drafts so much on potential. So it feels like when I saw that Shaden Sharp chose not to play, I was like, it's not even so much you're worried about injury. You're worried you're going to suck. Yeah. And you're going to come out and be not as good as everyone thought you were going to be, and that was going to hurt your draft stock. So it's not like football, because in my mind I'm going, he's not playing because of risk of injury. He doesn't want to underperform, and he didn't bet on himself. And so to me, that was like the red flag in that.
It's a huge red flag, because in basketball, shooter's going to shoot.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the confidence to, if you're worried you're going to suck, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah. So
like massive.
There will be the question of how ready he is for the Blazers.
Before we transition to Blazers, real quick, you mentioned, colleges are going to try and find a way around my fix if that fix happened. Mm-hmm. But if they found too official of a way that all of a sudden the funding for the lower college tuition went down, man, they would face such a huge social repercussions of that, of all of a sudden, all this money is going to college tuition, and all the athletic departments are capped. And then news report, colleges find way around this by doing this. Everybody be so ticked off at them. And I'm not saying that works all the time, but it does work sometimes, especially in our culture.
In your scenario, are you imagining this is not under the NCAA umbrella anymore? Like, this is the power the big 2 or big 3 or whatever ends up being?
So this would have to be, this is part of it. So they would have to have, the NCAA umbrella would have to become more powerful.
Yeah.
There would have to be a commissioner.
There would have to be a commissioner of all of the schools. So it would, and that's kind of a bummer, but it would take away the autonomy of some of the different conferences, right? Because everybody would have to be capped the same. Because basically what my proposal is doing is trying to get it closer to an amateur sport than it is right now. Because right now it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not an amateur sport. The salaries of the coaches, the lack of salaries to the players, in how it functions with all of the money funneling in, everything is taking away from this being an amateur sport. So capping everything brings it closer to an amateur sport, because then everybody's on an even playing field. Just like when it started out. You're going to this school. Are you good at football? You want to play on our football team. You want to play against this football team. That's an amateur sport.
But players would still have access to the NIL money, and that's a separate thing? Or are you
I would think so.
Okay.
I would think the NIL thing, and that would, look.
Because that's the one reservation I'd have, is that I want to make sure that the players who are worth it have the opportunity to profit off them.
I feel like you would need to add restrictions to NIL. Right now, NIL is just money.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like you would need to specify that, if you could make money from your name, image, and likeness, but you can't just get signed to $40 million because $1 million because a booster wants you to come to the club.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point.
That's open to a lot of how do you? It's difficult to enforce those rules, because what do you do if a booster's like, I'm just hiring him as my pool boy for $50,000 a week?
Yeah, I feel like there's ways to put regulations in place so that if they're broken with something like that, there could be investigations, just like we saw before.
Yeah.
But I want name, image, and likeness to be there, but maybe put a rule where a booster who owns a car dealership can't just hire you for $40 million to do their commercials. I don't know how exactly you would do that, because I want NIL to be there, because as you've mentioned, it has screwed over so many teenagers in this new influencer market. And I don't want that to happen. I want it. But on the other hand, there's always ways that skeezy people can skeeze. And that's been in place forever,
Yeah,
right?
you don't-
So I'm not saying that nobody's ever going to be able to work the system. I'm saying that the rules in place aren't working the system.
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
There's also a pretty good chance that NIL could have a massive market correction over the next few years, because college football and young athletes, just by the nature of sports, often end up not being as good as they're supposed to. So what's going to happen inevitably is some big boosters are going to pay big money to a guy to come to a school, and he's going to end up not being very good. And then that booster will be like, well, what did I go through all that effort and sign that contract and give this guy all that money? And I think that as time goes on, the boosters are going to be more careful about the NIL deals, at least as far as like, it'll be more appealing to give big deals to people who are already there, which is kind of what we already want, instead of the money being the reason why the players go to the school.
Absolutely. That's what we want. We want if you're earning money from your name, image, and likeness before you're even in, like while you're in high school, we want you to be able to get that money without jeopardizing your ability to play college sports. We also want the kids who are really good in college to be able to get paid for how good they are in college. Those are the two main things we want.
Yeah.
I think a huge part of this is the coaches are paid so freaking much and have the freedom to just peace out whenever they want. When the kids have to go through these massive processes, and now we see the transfers opening up that sum. But man, the coaches are paid. They are the highest paid public employees in every state they're in. That's nuts.
Yeah. I like your overall the general. I know that it's a spur of the moment. You just came up with
Yes.
it. Also, the biggest weakness I see in the whole thing at the surface level is I think that it sounds almost impossible for me to actually cap facilities. How do you? Oh, I only spent $20 million on this whole facility, but a huge booster owns the construction company and did it at cost. Well, that's not fair, and you can't. I mean, I don't even know how you can enforce that. But I like the general thrust of the whole idea. That was just the one thing I was like, man, that sounds almost impossible to even.
Yeah, the facilities was kind of a last second, like, oh wait. So I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
Justin, not real quick, but I want to know your opinions a little bit more in depth of what the Blazers have done and what maybe you think they should do.
Well, the glaringly obvious weak spot is that they're very thin in the post. So Yusuf Nurkic and then Drew Eubanks is basically all they have. And then
Is Zeller still on the roster?
no.
Okay.
No. So they have basically like a bunch of guys that they can play this 2 through 4 kind of, but none of them are really big enough to be a 4. But I think if you look at the way they've done these signings, getting guys like GP2 and guys like Jeremy Grant, they're kind of going for this, like, let's surround Dame with really athletic, good defensive players who are versatile. Because the thing with GP2 is, like, he played every position at Golden State when he was in the rotation. He actually had really good defensive ratings guarding centers.
So
Wow.
Yeah, so like,
but he was actually not on he was not even on a team relatively recently?
No, he was. He was on the national championship team. Like, he was a title winner.
Okay, but I meant I know he was.
Oh, you mean before
on
that?
This one. I'm saying that isn't this a guy that was like chose to hang around the team and was looking at getting a job in scouting for that team just to stick around them?
So basically what happened was he was kind of his NBA career was hanging on by a thread. And he had actually gone back to Golden State thinking, okay, this is kind of my last shot, and if this doesn't work out, I'm going to ask them if I can have a job in the film room. Like, he wanted to be like a film coordinator.
I
love that
heard
guy
he
so
had
much.
applied for it. I thought that he had literally applied
I think
for
that
job.
he had discussions with them about hey, can I be a film coordinator? And they were like, well, maybe, but how about you play for us and we'll see how things go. And then he's just with the way he played, he became an absolutely vital part of that team to the point when he was out, they were different. And he's not a starter, but the fans recognized how important he was to the team, where when he came back in the playoffs, when he got on the floor, he got the hugest ovation from the home fans the first time he went back on the floor. Like, this guy, I don't know, what is he, like 6'3", 6'4"? Like, he's not
maybe
a huge...
6'3".
He's
I
not
think
a
I
huge
saw him
guy,
at 6'2".
But he has such a grinder mentality, and he's worked on the craft of defense so much that he's just become... He was absolutely vital to them. And also incredibly unselfish on offense. Like, hey, Steph, you're the guy. You do what you do. And I'll just be over here in the corner and I'll shoot when you guys want me to shoot. But he's also great in transition. So, like, I feel like he's Blazers...
6'3".
Okay, perfect. So I think the Blazers have kind of gone in this direction of, like, yeah, we're going to have a couple of bigs. And Eubanks is like, that's kind of a throwaway, whatever. He'll play a few minutes.
Hey, also former Beaver.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Sorry, it's just not. It's not an exciting signing.
You're right.
When you
You're
see
right.
Drew Eubanks.
He's a big athletic dude who likes to block shots.
Yeah, so
that's
I think
all he is.
I think the struggle for the Blazers right now is, like, you've got a lot of framework and supplemental players in there. Like, go get the big fish, and there's not a lot of assets that they have. Like, they could package Shaden Sharp, Nasir Little, Josh Hart. Like, that's kind of the prospects they have with a first round pick or two to try to go get somebody big. But those guys are going away quick, and there aren't very many dudes that fit the mold of what they need.
Which
it's probably a 4, you know?
In my mind, it would be a 3-4 type player.
Yeah.
A taller wing-ish player who can shoot really good.
Well, and wings own the league right now, and the Blazers have gone that direction. Like, they got wings. They went out and got wings. So,
but I don't know. None of them really seem like Jeremy Grant doesn't feel like the exact type of player they need. Sadly, the only player I can think of that's the exact type player they need is Klay Thompson.
I was actually gonna say, hey, what you're saying about GP2 makes me want, like, that. He sounds like my second favorite basketball player.
He's awesome.
If they could get Klay,
I also have an autograph.
If they can get Klay to Portland, I will follow that team.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be super
You'll
dope.
convert me.
I don't know.
still won't like basketball. But
I think a lot of it will really, like, a lot of it, how big of an impact that would be depends on what version of Klay he could get back to. Because this year, after, 2 massive catastrophic injuries, he was not himself this year. So
who even is the guy then?
I don't have a guy. That's the hard part, is, like, nobody that is rumored to be on the trade market besides Kevin Durant fits what you need. And I just don't. I mean, Kevin Durant said, here's 2 teams I'll play for. Portland wasn't one of them. So I don't know what the Blazers could even do, because it doesn't sound. It's okay. It doesn't sound like Durant wants to be there.
Yeah.
So I don't. It's hard, and that's I think the thing that's frustrating to me is watching this happen. This is the same as we talked about when last season ended. I don't see a path to them getting where they need to be to not lose Dame, and so I'm nervous and I'm frustrated about it. But I can't sit here and tell you, like, here's the move they should make, because I don't think there's a move out there to be made that's going to solve the problem.
Looking at their roster right now, because they still have a ton of bloat from last year, right? Because they made all these signings and trades and stuff, and they brought back a lot of contracts and people who are just kind of bloat, in my opinion. Because in my opinion, you got Dame. Like, let's say they don't make any other additions that trade out their stars right now. So you got Dame, you got Sharp, you got Little, I think is improving enough that he should be in the conversation. You got Jeremy Grant, you got Nurkic, you got Eubanks as a rotational defensive center.
Yeah,
Simons, huge. After that, what do you got? You got
Josh Hart.
You got Josh Hart, and he's still kind of bloat to me because
Actually,
I know he's good, but he's kind of, I don't know, he's like that mid-level good.
So here's from Blazers Edge. They gave a little idea of what the Portland depth chart will look like.
Okay, good.
It says point guards, Damian Lillard, Anthony Simon, GP2.
Okay.
Shooting guard, Anthony Simons, Josh Hart, Shaden Sharp. Small forward, Josh Hart, Nasir Little, GP2, Greg Brown III.
I forgot about him.
I did too. That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Power forward, Jeremy Grant, Justice Winslow, who I totally forgot was on the team,
Yeah.
and Trenton Watford. And then center, you got Yusuf Nurkic and Drew Eubanks. So that power forward spot, like Jeremy Grant's not. I mean, you're playing small.
Yeah.
If
playing
Jeremy Grant
real small.
is your 4. But they're good enough in the 1 through 3. I mean,
But it's still a small 3.
it's the strength of their team, though, is like the 1 through 3. Maybe I shouldn't say they're good enough there because I don't know if they're going to be good enough.
It's still
there.
a really small 3 is the problem
Yeah.
to me.
But if you go Dame, if you end up with Dame, Anthony Simons, and Jeremy Grant as your starting 1 through 3,
I'm fine with
I
that.
think you could feel pretty good about that. But that would mean you have nobody to start at power forward. It's not
Exactly.
going to be Justice Winslow.
No.
And that's why looking at the way they've built the team, I feel like Josh Hart kind of gets squeezed out of it a little bit, which is why he's been at the top of every trade rumor. That's
Do they still have Eric Bledsoe?
By a small 3, you mean size?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
it wasn't something different.
So they need a 3 or a 4.
Ideally a 4,
Yeah.
I'd say. 'Cause
They would require less other roster changes if they had a 4.
But there's a real possibility that they've gone into this saying, we're going to play small and with guys with great defensive versatility. And if we don't have a true 4, we're going to go without a 4.
And I love the defensive versatility because in my mind that's something they have lacked immensely.
Well, and that's what, when you bring in guys like GP2 and Jeremy Grant, that's what you're adding defensive versatility.
Yeah.
So I just don't think, I think at this point, unless they do something big, Dame's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part.
Is Love a free agent?
I don't know.
I'd be okay with a stretch 3 like Love. Just grab boards and chuck 3s.
But
That type of player.
But if
you
you're
know?
worried about losing Dame, it doesn't matter what you're okay with.
That's true. And
I mean,
well, winning,
that
you know,
was just like
winning would be the thing that would. There's two things the only thing that's going to keep Dame is winning.
yeah. Do you think this is a team that can compete with the Nuggets? Losing GP2, that helps.
The Warriors.
A little bit. Yeah, sorry. The Warriors and the Nuggets. Because in my mind, those are the 2 top teams right now.
I mean, the Clippers, man.
But then you're right. You got the Clippers, and then you have LeBron James on the Lakers, and you don't know what he can bring in.
yeah. And the Clippers just added John Wall to a team that
Oh,
will
really?
already be returning Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and where Norm Powell and Robert Covington ended up getting traded to.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so that Clippers team, and this is a huge if because their
Oh, jeez.
their 3 best players are always hurt.
That's a
But
good
if
point.
those guys are all healthy at the same time, then they're going to be incredible.
Insane.
Yeah.
Do fans of the team call them the Nugs?
I hope so.
I call them the Nugs, but I don't know if fans do.
Yeah. It should be the Nugs.
Yeah.
The chicken Nugs.
The Nuggets are going to be good too.
The West is stacked.
Yeah.
And then if Kevin Durant goes to Phoenix, and Phoenix is already good,
Yeah.
goodness gracious.
Yeah.
The East is garbage.
I don't see the Blazers being able to compete in the top level of that conference.
Unless
Why
they
don't the
get
Blazers enter the transfer portal and transfer to the East?
Yeah,
The East
seriously.
has some pretty good teams in the top 2 though.
Yeah, top
But
2.
But
not
Nets,
5.
Yeah. The Nets dismantling is going to be a big
I mean,
blow.
what? In the East, you got the Heat, the Nets dismantling, so they're no longer. So you got the Heat and the Celtics.
Well, the Bucks and the Celtics. And the
Heat's Bucks
Celtics,
have to-
speaking of teams who just added great players for nothing to an already good team, they just made a trade for Malcolm Brogdon and gave up almost nothing for him.
Jeez.
So they're going to add Malcolm Brogdon to a team that already has Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and they're going to be better, and they just made it to the finals. So Yeah, I mean there aren't the same kind of like, hey, we're gonna create a super team by everyone just meeting up and building teams together, but there are teams that are stacking talent on talent.
You know what? I feel like health is going to play a huge role. Mm-hmm. If the Blazers can stay incredibly healthy and some other teams have some injury problems, because I feel like if the Blazers get to the Western Conference Finals again and compete so they don't get swept, maybe win.
But for now, Cucumber, calm down.
Daniel
It's okay.
excited the dog.
And right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break and then come back with Stump Daniel on the other side of the break. Do you have a legal situation and need someone on your side? Let the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz be your advocate. If you've been the victim of medical malpractice, suffered a personal injury, or need representation with real estate law, small business law, or estate planning, let Jeff Damashevitz put his 29 years of experience to work for you. Call Jeff Damashevitz today at 360-612-3991 or visit damashevitzlaw.com. That's DAMASIEWICZLAW.com. Welcome back to The Scrimmage, brought to you by Ole Penn Real Estate and the Law Office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz. I am Justin Damashevitz, no relation.
What's A stand for?
Our producer, Andrew Gross, is here with us, and Daniel Hargrove is my co-host. And Cucumber is an amazing dog. And I just thought it was funny that, like, it seemed like the thing that just riled her up was Daniel, but Daniel ran that way, and Cucumber went the exact opposite direction. So is Cucumber really bad at knowing where things are that she wants to bark at?
Cucumber only cares about one thing,
Okay.
and that is when Hannah will come home.
Oh.
So, and she's 13 years old, and she can't hear very well, and so she's like
now I
sitting
feel
there
like a jerk.
pouting. What's happening is she's sitting there pouting that her mom has left her and abandoned her forever, and at the slightest like this happens when I'm home and Hannah's at work, and I like get up. Just get up. I just stand up. She goes off, and she's like, "Mom's home! Mom's home! Mom's home! Mom's home!"
Okay.
So she has to run outside and go look. She runs around the corner and goes to where the car is, and then she's like, "Oh,
So
my
Daniel
life, my
stood
life
up.
is empty."
Yeah. So Daniel stood up, and then Cucumber thought that
Mom's
her
home.
favorite person was home.
Yes.
Oh.
And went to greet her, and this is all Daniel's fault. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
I
So
feel like
she's wandering around being dejected right now outside, but
I'm
it's okay. She needs fresh air.
I'm a terrible person.
Well,
No, it's not your fault.
people who haven't met Cucumber are missing out because
Yes.
she is just the best dog.
She is a great dog.
She's so sweet.
Anyway, it's time for my favorite part of the show.
Oh.
Sorry,
What would you...
I wasn't ready.
Serving questions up on a silver platter where the points are made up and the rules don't matter. Time for Stump Daniel. If you went back to video instant replay, you would have watched me watching Andrew's drink, waiting for him to reach for it so I could say it so that he wouldn't be ready to click on the thing.
That was mean.
That was diabolical. Oh,
But
that's
anyway, I do have, I've got some kind of random trivia for you, and I thought it was funny earlier that you brought up Mike Trout, because some of this is Mike Trout related.
funny. Happy kind of.
But your first question, Daniel.
Yes.
Which major league team was the first to 50 losses this season?
That's already happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
How many games have been played?
I think most
Roughly.
teams have played roughly 80.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
You'd only have to be
on pace for 100 losses.
yeah.
That's still really bad.
So, Daniel, which team in the major leagues was the first to 50 losses this season?
You're so needy. And
He didn't click
passive
the,
aggressive.
he didn't click the bed. That's the wrong one.
Thanks, Justin.
I flustered him with the whole waiting for him to reach for the drink thing. Sorry.
Oh.
It's a dope hat, by the way.
Who's terrible? It is a cool hat.
It's a Tacoma Rainier's hat for anybody who's
Yeah.
listening and couldn't see it.
It doubles as a Raymond hat.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I only know that because
Aren't they
one
red
of the
and-
guys I work with has a Raymond hat that he wears, and I was like, "Is that a Rainier's hat or a Raymond hat?" 'Cause
they're
I knew
more-
he was from.
They're
Raymond.
red and black.
They're red
right?
and black.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you
Yeah,
want to
but
go,
they make like
know,
they make.
when you want to cheer for Kira Gardner as a Cougar and you want to be like, hey, I want to represent your high school.
There you go.
That's right.
Oh, did I tell you guys that I found out I'm basically related to Kira Gardner.
What? No?
This is a small town thing.
Stop the music. What?
I don't have a
is
record scratch, but
This is a small town thing, but pretty much what happened was, and I'm not from here originally, so obviously this is a relation by marriage. But basically what happened was we had shared some stuff about Kira.
Yeah.
And then someone shared our post about Kira and said, hey, this is my niece and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at the name and I was like, wait a minute. That person's last name is my wife's maiden name. So I asked my wife, hey, do you know this person? And she's like, yeah, that's my cousin. What? So probably by 2 separate marriages, we are related.
Yes.
So I guess I'll see Kira at the next family reunion.
Hey! Just don't start a basketball game.
Heck no.
Or a track competition.
Nope.
Or whatever shit. Just don't.
No,
Stay away
no
from
competition.
Stay
Like,
away from athletic
I'm
competitions.
going to go a step further and say any competition.
Smart.
Like she's
You don't want
I
to
can't
play.
wait
she
for
would-
Easter.
Easter
Easter.
egg hunt against Kira Gardner. Oh. You think she'd do it?
Yeah, she'd do it. You might be able to compete in that just because you have experience.
Yeah. I'm bigger and stronger too, so like
That's
if
true. The boxing out. I feel like
she'd beat me to the spot though. I think that's the hard part. Like
Yeah.
it's really hard to box somebody out if they're quick enough to beat you to the spot.
yeah, that'd be tough.
Yeah. But anyway, back
Who'd
to
win in an Easter egg? Prime Justin Damashevitz.
I see what you did there. You flipped that around on me. Okay, that'll be a poll question for next week.
Awesome. Oh,
Spoiler alert, the answer is Kira Gardner. Okay. Back to Stump Daniel.
I'm gonna just say the Marlins.
Ooh, I'm sorry, Daniel. That is not correct.
Darn it.
But you will be happy to know that the first team in the major leagues to 50 losses this season was the Oakland A's.
Yes.
They are currently 26 and 54.
Oh, they're bad.
There are 2 other teams that have 51 losses, Washington and Cincinnati. And I think it's funny that Oakland beat Cincinnati to 50 losses because Cincinnati got off to a historically god-awful start.
Yeah, but the A's, didn't they get off to that great start? Or was that the Angels?
The Angels got off to a
good
great start, and then they lost like 14 games in a
Yeah.
row.
So anyway, Daniel, you're...
Spoiler, I can't tell the difference between the A's and the Angels. I know that they're different. You don't have to explain it. I
That's
just
okay.
confuse them constantly.
I'm fine with you confusing them. And the Astros, because I hate all of them.
and the Rangers. Okay, Daniel, next question.
All right.
On Saturday, Zion Williamson agreed to a maximum rookie extension. He's played just 85 career games. In the modern draft era, which is since 1966.
Don't do it.
That's the 3rd fewest
Don't do
by
it.
a number 1 pick
Don't do
in
it.
the first 3 seasons after being drafted. Who are the 2 players who played less than Zion in the first 3 years after being drafted? You look upset.
Greg
So I'm
Oden.
guessing you know one of these answers.
Oh, wow. Double whammy. I already made fun of Greg Oden.
It is Greg Oden is one of them. Greg Oden played 82 games in his first 3 seasons. Daniel, do you want to take a stab at who the other one is?
Real quick story. My wife, when I was talking about how disappointed I was that the Blazers ended up with the number 7 pick in this year's lottery,
Yeah.
I told her that I was actually excited that they didn't get the number 1 pick. Because I told her the last 2 times they got the number 1 pick. And I was like, the last 2 times they've had the number 1 pick, they drafted guys named Sam Bowie and Greg Oden. She was like, so? And I was like, well, Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant were the guys drafted right after them. And she went, oh, wow, they're really bad at that.
And she's right.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea who the other one is.
Okay, the other one is, there's a caveat to it. And
Wait.
it's-
Is it the Human Victory cigar for the Detroit Pistons? What was that guy's name?
The Human Victory cigar?
Yeah.
I don't think I know that one.
The guy. He was drafted in the same class as like No, because he wasn't drafted number 1. Never mind. Who's the guy who was drafted in the same class as like LeBron and Carmelo? and he was like some European guy.
Yeah. Darko Milicic.
Darko.
Yeah,
there
no,
it
it's
is.
not him.
Okay.
The answer. You want me to give it to you?
Yeah.
The answer is David Robinson.
What?
But the caveat is
What?
David Robinson was drafted out of the Naval Academy, and he spent his first 2 years after being drafted in military service. Then when he actually had his first real season in the NBA, he won Rookie of the Year and played all 82 games.
That's awesome.
So
Wow.
he's on this list,
How did I not know that about him?
but only by a technicality.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I forgot that he was in.
The Admiral.
How could he? That's why he was nicknamed the Admiral.
Yep.
But I'm just picturing the poor guy like trying to maneuver through
At
boats,
7'1".
just knocking his head on things constantly.
I don't know what his job was in the Navy, but okay, we're getting to the Mike Trout portion of the Stump
Okay.
Daniel segment.
Cool.
Mike Trout hit his 50th career home.
Did he go after that? Orioles?
He went. I don't remember what team he started with, but he
Okay.
was 2 years with some random team.
Okay.
Then he went to the Rangers for several years.
Yeah.
Then the Orioles. Then back to the Rangers. Then back to the Orioles.
Okay.
So he bounced back and forth between those two teams, but he had really great years in the prime of his career, both with the Rangers and the Orioles.
And the Orioles were at least in the American League, so would
Yeah.
play the Mariners at least
Right.
sometimes.
So you had no hesitation on that.
Because we've heard that stat a billion times since the Mariners have been playing against the Angels the last few weeks.
Here's one that's going to be a little tougher.
Okay.
Also, as of last month, Mike Trout has 7 career multi-homer games against the M's, which is tied for the most by any active player versus any single opponent. Who are the 2 active mashers Trout is tied with against any single opponent?
And it's 7?
Yeah.
Oh.
They both play for the same team. And both of them have their multi-home run games against the same team.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, let's... Okay, so that's really interesting because now a lot of my guesses went away because I'm trying to think of
2 great power hitters
on one team. Yeah.
You
And
may
they're
benefit
active.
from starting with 1 great power hitter on a great team. And then working backwards from there. Because one of these answers you'll go, oh. And then the other one you'll go, oh.
Were those different O's?
Yeah. One of them was, oh. And then the other one was, oh.
Oh, man. Can I get a hint?
Yes.
Can you tell me what position one of them plays?
I would if I knew.
Are you serious?
I'm really bad at baseball positions. I think
Oh, Lord.
I think that the main one is an outfielder.
That's like me trying to come up with or basketball positions.
Maybe a first baseman, but probably an outfielder.
Oh, my gosh.
He's a DH.
He's a mountain of a man.
Large human.
Yeah.
Okay, I can work with that. Large human, you're not sure. Okay. Oh.
He mashes.
Okay. I'm going to go with Giancarlo Stanton
Okay.
and Aaron Judge.
You got 1 out of 2.
Okay.
It is Aaron Judge,
But not Stanton.
but like a good Glaber, Torres
What?
is there. That's the one that you go, oh.
That's not an O. That's a
Oh.
what?
What position does Glaber Torres play?
He plays. Wait, hold up. He plays. Darn it. Nyeh. I'm making
Meat morp.
Yeah, exactly.
Second base and shortstop, according to Baseball Reference.
Play shortstop?
And Aaron Judge is an outfielder?
Yeah, he
Should
plays
I be
right
a little
field.
embarrassed that I wasn't sure what position he plays?
You should be a little embarrassed about Aaron Judge. He plays right field.
Okay.
But not too much.
I think of Judge like the mental slot that he's in is just the East Coast Mike Trout. I don't know if that's fair or not, but that's what he is.
He's not near
in
as
my
good
head.
of a defender.
I think he's
okay.
also
Yeah.
not as efficient of a hitter. Like
Yeah.
Mike Trout's like a really great all-around hitter, and
It would
Aaron
make
Judge
sense that
mostly
he's
just
not
mashes
as. It would
dingers.
make sense that he's like a knockoff Mike Trout, but is elevated to that level because he's on the East Coast.
The weird thing about Judge is he's massive.
Yeah.
Yankees are
He's like 6'7".
usually overrated, so it makes sense.
And that concludes Stump Daniel.
I'm shocked about Gleyber Torres because he's got 7 multi-hit home runs against one team.
Yeah, against the Orioles.
That is quite the
They're
name.
both against the Orioles.
The Orioles are so bad. You know what? Never mind. I'm not shocked. Of course it's Yankees because of course you get multi-home run games against in that freaking bandbox of a stadium of New York
Little League field.
and Baltimore before they moved their fences back and made them big. So of course there's multi-home run games for those teams.
Yeah. Screw you,
And the Orioles are
Yankees.
terrible.
You know, the Yankees just
like
have
the
a
Mariners.
history
Are
Are
of
you arguing
incredibly
for
overrated
Mike
players.
Trout here?
Shut up.
But the Yankees do have a
I'm
history of
with it.
incredibly overrated players.
That's true.
Like, Derek Jeter, but even more importantly, Mariano Rivera, who is
Yeah.
the most overrated player in the history of all sports.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of others. I mean, Alfonso Soriano.
There's at least
Pretty
100 of
overrated.
them. I mean, you got Jeter, you got Rivera, and 98 others. But that'll conclude Stump Daniel. We're going to do a quick Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week and also do poll results on the other side of this commercial break.
At Ole Penn Real Estate, we have solidified our foundation on 4 core values. First, we continuously focus on growing our knowledge in the market and in our practices to bring the highest level of competency to our clients. Second, we provide a high level of integrity, compassion, and kindness in every aspect of our business. Third, we put the human element above business through humor, enthusiasm, and patience. And last but not least, we proactively respond to the needs of our clients. Our mission is to create a personal real estate experience, one person and one home at a time. With Ole Penn, it's personal.
I have a quick update from the Mariners game that's going on right now. Robbie Ray has retired the last 8 batters, and it is 1-0 Mariners in the top of the 5th.
Dope.
Okay, cool. So he doesn't have a no-hitter or a perfect game.
No, apparently not.
Okay.
I just read the things on the screen. I don't
Hasn't
actually
Robbie
follow
Ray
the
been
game.
really good since I said that the Mariners should cut him?
Yes.
Yeah, he
Yes,
has.
he really has.
Yeah.
That brings us to our Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week and the discussion of a perfect game or a
Last
no-hitter.
9 batters.
Also brings us into this discussion. It brings us to our Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week discussion. Thank you to our sponsors, Ole Penn Real Estate and the Law Office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz.
No relation.
What's the A stand for? And I have an
Said
honorable
that
mention.
for you when you were in the bathroom.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
he did. He was
I
all
appreciate
over
it. I have an honorable mention for this. So I coach a Babe Ruth team. I help coach a Dennis Company, Aberdeen's Babe Ruth team, 13 through 15-year-olds. And we have a 14-year-old who we were playing against Black Hills. And this kid, Bubba Jones, threw 5 innings. He gave up 1 hit, 1 unearned run, and he had 14 strikeouts in that Babe Ruth
This
game.
is a different kid than the guy that was playing quarterback for Hoquiam a few years ago.
No,
Yeah,
that's
that was
that's
Bubba Dick.
Bubba Dick.
Okay.
There you go. Yes. No,
A lot
this
of
is
bubbers here in
this
Grace
is
Harbor County.
this is Bubba Jones, and he was absolutely dominant. So if you do the math, 14 strikeouts in 5 innings, where there's only 15 outs in 5 innings. Now there's a little caveat to that. There were 2 outs that were made in the field. There was a line drive to the third baseman and a ground ball to the shortstop to throw to first. But in 1 inning, he had 4 strikeouts.
Drop
Third strike. Yeah, so he struck out the leadoff batter. Dude dropped the catcher, couldn't handle the ball. Guy gets to first. He then strikes out the next 3 guys. So he had 4 strikeouts in 1 inning.
That is
So,
impressive.
It was incredibly impressive. Like, he was absolutely dominant. It was amazing to watch. And I feel personally responsible for his no-hitter getting broken. Because in that inning, he had, I think, 2 outs. And I said, do we really want to take Bubba out next inning? He's working on a no-hitter. Because he had some walks missed. He had a decent amount of walks.
And if
And
you
I
had
was keeping-
thought about it, you would not have done that.
Well, no, that's the thing. I actively didn't say he had a no-hitter multiple times to people. Even one time a kid asked me, hey, what did you say? How many strikeouts did Bubba have? And I told him, and the kid was like, how many hits does he give up? And I was like,
That's not important.
I'm not going to tell you right now. And then I literally said that to a coach. I was like, he's working on a no-hitter. Literally the next batter, a lefty, hits one off the very end of the bat, looping line drive towards our good third baseman, who sits back on it, waits for the one hop, because it should be a candy hop to him, but the ball was spinning so hard that as soon as it hit the ground, it just went crazy English and like yanked 6 feet to the left of him. Base hit on the most stupid base hit of all time. And I just went,
Broadcaster's jinx.
you've got to be kidding me. I just jinxed it. To which the head coach of the team, who's also my pastor, said, I rebuke that superstition. And I was just like,
he let you off.
He
the hook
doesn't.
too
He
easy.
doesn't
That
understand
was-
I
because
was
he's
like-
not a broadcaster.
I was like, I understand what you're saying, and it's probably valid religiously, but I feel terrible.
Remember, this happened in Montesano High School baseball.
Words have impact.
Right? Words of power.
This happened in Montesano High School
That's what you should have
baseball
told him
several
back.
years ago, where there was a guy who was throwing a perfect game, and then it was noted. I think it might have even been mentioned in the newspaper write-up that one of the players that was in the dugout mentioned it while the game was going on. So luckily, the player still threw the perfect game. Like
okay.
it didn't get jinxed. But after the game was over, everybody was like, "What's wrong with you? You don't say that out loud."
Who threw it? Do you remember who threw it?
I think it was.
Was it Lane?
I think it was. No. It was Riley. Oh shoot,
I've got a question about it.
Was it fast pitch or baseball?
baseball. They had a
Fairchild?
Maybe. Dang it! I feel like a jerk for forgetting this now. I think this happened while I was covering Monty.
Okay.
Is the jinx like talking about like the superstition in general in baseball?
Yeah.
I've always heard it referred to as the broadcaster's jinx because I thought it was unlucky for a broadcaster
It's
to
everybody.
mention it.
Nobody's
It's
allowed-
anybody.
Everybody.
For
In
a
the
perfect
dugout.
game no-hitter, that thing, nobody's allowed to mention it.
Including
Most-
fans? Like, I'm honestly
I'm
curious.
not mentioning.
I'm not.
that.
If I'm a
Right,
fan, I'm not mentioning
right,
it.
okay.
There's ways to get around it, like broadcasters do. Rick Riz
Yes.
is very religious. He'll be like, he's got 13 up and 13 down,
Yeah.
but he'll never say
Right,
no-hitter
and-
or perfect game.
And all superstition aside, that is the like that sort of tradition and fun,
Yeah.
weird, unspoken joke / rule / superstition. I love that. That's
Yeah.
one of the coolest things about baseball.
And also in
'Cause there's a
baseball,
lot of it.
The guys in the dugout generally won't even go near the pitcher. Like, you'll get a camera shot of the dugout, and the pitcher will just be sitting there by himself, and nobody will be within 10 feet of him.
That's not superstition. That's just good sense. You don't want the pitcher to blame you for getting him out of his zone.
So anyway, Bubba Jones is my honorable mention, but Justin, you brought our... What are you looking up?
I was trying to. I think it's Riley Olsen.
What's a
Olsen.
bucket? What's
Okay.
a bucket
But I-
getter if they're in playing baseball? Do we have a turn? What happens?
I think it'd
Well,
be
you
different
don't
for a
get
pitcher and a
buckets
hitter.
in baseball.
Yeah. Okay. I know. That's what
I
I was
think-
saying. What would be the equivalent?
I think, like, in professional, it'd be... when you hear the term, like, professional hitter, or maybe...
Because it's not a 5-tool player. Because there's defense involved in that.
Exactly. So, like, it'd be like a professional... This dude just hits. Like, he's just a masher.
Masher,
This
maybe
dude's
a
just-
certified
But
masher.
a
Yeah.
masher might not hit for average.
That's
though.
true.
So, and a professional hitter doesn't always hit for power.
But yeah. We'll have to come up with that one. And what
and
about
then
really good
maybe the
question.
pitcher could be a certified shover.
Ooh.
I heard that.
all right.
I heard that this
Because
year
shove-
for the first time, and I love it.
Because shoving doesn't necessarily mean striking people out. It just means getting people out and imposing your will on them.
Yeah.
So I could see that. Yeah. Interesting. We might have a new
You know
certified...
what's, you know
we
what's
might
more
have...
impressive than striking 3 people out on 9 pitches? Getting people out with 3 pitches.
Absolutely. We have a new kid on our certified bucket getter radar, though. I mean, he's got a ways to go. He's super young, but Justin, that's our next.
Yeah. So is he going to be our athlete of the week? Do we want to roll with that?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. So
I mean, when you
I trust Peyton.
when you eat 50, oh snap!
So
we got some dispute
I'm
here.
just going.
no, we're not going. We're not going there.
When you eat 50 burgers
So
in a game.
There were no burgers
Oh,
involved.
you're right.
So that was what I texted to our group chat that Hoke Williams, Lincoln Nemi dropped a 50 burger, and Andrew was like, 50 burgers?
That is incredibly impressive.
No, it doesn't mean he ate 50 burgers. It
That's
means
a certified garbage gut.
It means he scored 50 points in a basketball game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So there's
different.
there's
That is
an
impressive also.
Ilwaco camp that some of our local teams were at, and Lincoln Nemi playing for Hoke Williams Junior Varsity against a 1B varsity team in Crescent. So
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know exactly how to do the equivalence on that. Like that's 2 classifications lower. It's a B school, but it is a varsity team.
It really depends on the school because we've seen some
Yeah.
1B and 2B varsities that are legit.
But I think it's also notable that Lincoln won't even see him playing high school basketball this year because he's not a high schooler.
Yeah.
He's an incoming 8th grader who is playing with the JV summer program that his dad is now running because Jeff Nemi, his dad, is the coach of Hoke Williams basketball program.
Perks of being the coach's kid.
Well, they had I think there was a couple of other kids that were younger that were also playing, but I don't know all their ages really well, but there's one in particular that I thought was in his grade that was also playing.
Okay.
So I don't know that for a fact, but Lincoln Nemi
I wish I could have done that as an 8th grader.
as an incoming 8th grader
I was not good enough.
playing JV dropped 50 points against a varsity team at the Ilwaco
Dropped
camp
them.
in a game. So for
Through
that,
the hoop.
Lincoln,
Oh,
you are our Ole Penn Real Estate Athlete of the Week.
That's
congratulations.
Awesome. That's awesome. And by the way, both of these kids, don't be surprised to see them be athletes of the week when they get into high school sports either.
50 burgers.
Yeah. Bubba's going to be a freshman this next year. And Lincoln just in 8th grade. But yeah, 50 points. I don't care. I mean,
Wait,
maybe I do
ninth
care.
grade is freshman, right?
No, he's going to be an 8.
He's going to be in 8th grade.
Oh, he's going to
Yeah.
be. Okay,
Yeah.
so he has a year.
Yeah. That 50 points is a ton.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my arm would get
That's
tired
twice
just shooting.
as many as 25.
My arm would get tired just shooting as many times as you would need to get to that point.
Shooting 50 times. Wait, no, it'd
You'd be shooting
yeah,
25
yeah,
times.
25 times.
50
Yeah.
free throws. He made 50 free throws. That's how he got there. Yeah. So
Is
yes,
anybody left on the other
Lincoln
team?
Nemi is definitely on our certified bucket getter radar.
Yes.
So maybe 4 or 5 years from now, you'll be hearing us give him that honor.
Yep. And we've got a few other kids that we're looking at this year, so
Yeah.
it should be fun.
True.
Maybe we will have somebody outside of Raymond earn that
It is.
qualification.
It
I
is
don't-
possible.
I don't see that
the-
happening.
There are 2 athletes on the radar that it is potential that they could earn that honor this year or next year.
That's true. I think I'm thinking of the same ones you are.
I got 2 in my mind.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, we'll address that another day. I think we can close it out with poll results.
Yes.
First poll question from last week's show. Are the Mariners more likely to be buyers? 69% of our audience
Nice.
said buyers.
Oh,
The Mariners are more likely to be buyers.
There we go.
The
That
next-
Mariners optimism.
There you go. Next question. Should an Instagram reel go golf swing baby golf swing or baby golf swing baby? After Daniel was a little disappointed that he didn't get as many likes as he hoped, but he realized he sandwiched a baby with 2 golf swings instead of sandwiching 2 golf swings with a baby.
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like that's influencer 101.
Yeah, seriously.
this has never happened before.
Uh-oh.
But 100% of our audience said baby golf swing baby.
Yeah, maybe it might be influencer 98.
Yeah.
Not even college level.
That was a bad job by me.
Next question. Should the Texas Rangers change their name to the Rangers so all the Mariners' division opponents could start with the letter A?
What were the
Obviously.
possible answers here?
Yes or no?
Oh, I was hoping it was going to be yes and absolutely.
Well, 67% of our audience said yes, they should change their name to the Rangers. And they could have like what did you say they could have like a floral pattern as their logo?
Yeah, like because they would be like
Rangers.
flower rangers. Exactly.
I love that.
I like
Yeah.
it.
That is that's perfect. I love it.
Next poll. What would you call the Angels starting a different pitcher with the intention of hitting Mariners batters? Would you call it malice aforethought
Yes.
or the old switcheroo?
Or as Rick Riz called it, putting in a hitman. He referred to that,
that.
poor Wants guy as a hitman like 10 times.
Dude, on the
Called a
John
mercenary,
Boy
too.
on the John Boy video. By the way, if you didn't watch the John Boy breakdown of the Mariners fight, I love John Boy and he does an amazing job. I think it's his best video ever.
It's amazing.
And in part of it, you see Winker, and one of the things I love that John Boyd does is he's really good at reading lips.
Yeah.
And he'll look at it
Amazing.
and analyze it and be like, that's what this guy's saying. This is what this guy's saying. And it's Winker talking to Wance, and he's going, I had to hit you. I had to hit you. And Winker's like, you had to hit me? And so it's like John Boy is narrating this conversation, and it's amazing.
And if it wasn't for John Boy, we might not know that, what was that guy's name? Something Bradley?
Yes.
That he broke his arm falling out of the dugout.
Yes, because that's really the fun. That was the thing about the fight that I laughed with my coworkers about the next day.
Yeah.
As I got there and like, oh, did you see the Mariners brawl? And I was like, did you see the Angels guy that broke his arm falling trying to get to the fight? So this big brawl that had very little injury involved in
Yeah.
it. A guy injured himself trying to get to the fight.
Yes.
Trying to get out of the dugout.
Anyway, 78% of our audience said they would call it malice aforethought,
Nice.
like Daniel did.
I like it.
Next question. Are Eugenio Suarez's fists named Good and Vibes?
I love that comment.
Well, 60% of our audience said no, they're not.
Well, they're wrong.
Here's another one from Daniel from Mariners Conversation last week. Because I said, it really depends on if you trust the core of this team. And Daniel said, I don't trust the core of Jerry DiPoto. So do you trust the core of Jerry DiPoto? 60% of our audience does not trust the core of Jerry DiPoto. I've got two more.
Yeah. It's hard to.
This is one of my favorites. Which sounds more like a sports team from a made-for-TV movie?
Okay.
Because,
Yes,
Daniel, this is what you
yes.
said about the Florida Panthers,
Yes.
which you learned as a hockey team.
Yep.
And you were like, that sounds like a sports team from a made-for-TV movie.
And you thought the same about the LA Kings.
I did, but Andrew also chimed in with, what about the New York Knickerboxers? So your two options here are the Florida Panthers or the New York Knickerboxers. Well, 75% of our audience went with Florida Panthers. Sounds more like a sports team from a made-for-TV movie.
And that's when all of those people found out that was a real team. I'm
Exactly.
assuming. Yeah.
Final one. This is another thing. This was from a conversation between Daniel and Andrew.
Yeah.
Are phone cameras from 5 or 6 years ago roughly potatoes?
Yes.
And if you couldn't follow that, the conversation was, Andrew was saying something about how the phones that they had from, like, the phones you buy off the market or something, the big deficiency is that they're more like the cameras from phones 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And Daniel goes, oh, so potatoes. And then Andrew says, roughly potatoes. So our phone cameras for 5 or 6 years ago, roughly potatoes. 86% of our audience said yes, they are.
Yep.
Those people get us.
Yeah.
Do you know what a Knickerbocker is?
I don't.
It is a
Don't know what-
descendant of the early Dutch settlers of New York or a native or resident of the city or state of New York.
But what is a knickerbocker?
they're-
So it's a New Yorker. A Knickerbocker.
I thought it was pants. I thought knickerbockers.
Knickers are pants.
Oh, I thought knickers was short for knickerbockers. So I was wrong
What are
there.
the Knicks short of? Are they short for the Knickers?
Knickerbockers.
Or are they? It is Knickerbockers.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Knickerbockers.
but not knickerbockers.
So basically,
I
it's
just always thought it was a super odd name. It's
so
like
the New
it's
York
like the Canucks.
The New York Knicks are just the New York version of Linden.
Because they're Dutch. Yes, Daniel.
What? I knew there was a reason why I hated them.
Yeah. Screw you, Knicks.
Real quick. Fireworks. Are you pro fireworks? Like, so there's 3 different levels. I like fireworks. I like people having and blowing up their own stuff. I wish I could do it, but they're expensive, so I don't usually buy my own stuff. Just Andrew, you usually buy your own fireworks, right?
Yeah.
So you like fireworks enough to actually spend your own money on
I
them.
do. It's always a struggle because every time I'm buying fireworks, I'm thinking I could spend this $150 on ammunition and get way more booms.
That makes sense.
So for me, it's always that, like, 'cause specifically ammunition because it's loud booms,
Yeah.
and I'm paying for loud booms.
And then I feel like there's 2 other levels. I was false. There's more than 3. There's 4. Because then there's the people who like fireworks, but they only want to see the professional ones.
Yeah.
And then I assume there's a 4th level of people who just hate all fireworks.
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
don't understand those.
So I love fireworks. I do want to put out there are really legitimate reasons to hate fireworks.
Yes.
Specifically veterans or
Yep.
people with PTSD who experience like
Absolutely.
like that sucks. And I like there's not a good, I don't think that you should outlaw fireworks. I understand why people in that situation hate like and struggle with, you know, trying to get isolated or stay away during this time of the year. Apart from that, I like big booms.
Yep. Me too.
I do think that there's another category though, because there are people like me. I literally could not care less how pretty the firework is. I want the thump.
Okay.
Gotcha. I just want boom. There are people like my mother who also loves fireworks, but she wants really pretty ones.
Gotcha.
And she doesn't want to pay for them or set them off either.
I fall in the category of your mother.
Okay.
'Cause
Gotcha.
I enjoy fireworks shows, but fireworks make me super nervous because I've known several people that have seriously injured themselves with fireworks, and I don't trust very many people enough to do them around me.
That's fair.
Understandable.
Or my children. So usually I'm kind of a party pooper on the 4th of July. Like the most that we'll ever really do is like a little bit of kid fireworks or sparklers.
Yeah.
But usually we do nothing. This year we're doing nothing.
Understandable.
But we'll go outside and watch the fireworks that people are setting off.
Especially since you were a teenager with my brother. My brother was insane.
I have the best firecracker story with Jimmy that I'm not sure if I should tell.
Well, I have one. It was him and his friend James throwing firecrackers at each other, and then I, being 7 years younger, also in the backyard, and I tried to do it, and I had one go off like 3 inches out of my hand.
Your hand's
and
numb. And
my hand was numb, and my ear was ringing.
Yeah. I will say
Not smart.
I feel about fireworks the same way that I feel about firearms, in that they're really fun. I love them. They are not toys.
Yes.
And
That's a good point.
they're not to be taken casually.
And I think
it makes me so uncomfortable. The thing that so many people seem to do, get drunk and set off fireworks.
yeah,
it
that's a good point.
sketches me out so
Yeah,
hard.
that's
and
true.
we both have a friend who's a firefighter out in Ocean
Yep.
Shores, and the stories that he tells every year about the stuff that happens on the beach is horrifying.
absolutely terrifying. Yeah. The beach is insane.
Be safe.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean don't have cool fireworks. That means do it
Sober.
sober and carefully.
Yeah. And maybe stop turning the beach into a war zone.
Yeah, clean up after yourself.
Have you
too.
ever driven out there? It's scary. It's freaking insane. And yes, it's an absolute mess. Speaking as someone who's picked up the beach after the day after, it's nuts. It is the most disgusting thing. And all of these Seattle tourists who lecture us constantly about the environment
I think
drive
it's
down
probably
here
not the same
and
people.
dump all their crap on our beach.
I feel like it's probably a different subset of Seattle.
What's the statute of limitations on illegal firework activity?
Oh, it's got to be
There's
gone
a-
by now if you're talking about Jimmy as a teenager. He's old.
I thought you were asking for the rules because I've been hearing the rules on the radio about like what hours you're allowed
Oh,
to shoot
no.
off
We don't
fireworks
care
and
about
stuff.
that. We care about incriminating my brother.
So
I'm pretty sure you're good.
it's an incrimination of both of us, really. But this would have been probably when I was about 16. So I'm going to say Jimmy was like 18, 19, somewhere in that range.
Okay, so it's been about 20 years,
Yeah.
which is weird to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went. I went. And got,
My brother is saying that you are right. Knickers are short for knickerbockers, which is a reference to the Dutch immigrants coming into New York. So the pants knicker, like the underwear knickers, also a reference to knickerbockers.
Oh, okay. Good to know. All right,
I
anyway.
was right.
Sorry, that was from
So
my brother.
thank you.
Shout out to Daniel.
Thanks, Daniel.
Daniel. So Jimmy and I hopped into his car and drove probably way too fast out to
Yeah.
Tokeland. And this wasn't on the 4th, but I'm going to say it was probably like right before the 4th. So fireworks sales were going.
Today-ish.
And we went out to the stand, and I didn't know anything about purchasing fireworks, and Jimmy knew a little bit.
Because you're from Hawaii where they don't allow fun things.
There's fireworks there,
Okay.
but it's not the
They
same.
don't allow fun things.
Yeah. So Jimmy knew enough to go up to this fireworks stand
Oh no.
and look at what was there, and then lean over to the guy and say, "Do you have anything bigger than a firecracker?" And the guy, I kid you not, I remember this vividly. The guy leans over the table, looks to the left, looks to the right, pulls a box out from under the table, and he's like, "I think this is what you're looking for." So I don't even know what they were, like what level. I
Yeah.
have no idea, but they were big.
Yeah.
Big booms. And we got like 6 of them. So the next stop was, let's go to the grocery store and see what things we could buy that look like they'd be fun to blow up. Yes. So we got a cantaloupe, a Hostess cupcake. I don't remember everything that we bought, but we had like 4 or 5 different things. It was like, let's hollow these out, put a firecracker inside of them, blow them up.
Nice.
Unfortunately, we weren't out by your house in the boonies, Daniel.
Yeah.
We were by my house, and I lived in Kazi. So it was like,
No.
where can we go that would be a little bit out of the way? And I was like, you know what? There's like a little patch. There's a little area of woods that's up past the elementary school.
Yes,
So there's a
okay.
big field
Yep.
and a hill that leads up to woods. And it's not a ton of woods, but it's
No.
enough
Yeah.
that you can kind of go be hidden away.
Yeah.
We had no idea how loud these fireworks were going to be. We're like super excited idiots. And we went in there, we started with the cantaloupe, hollowed out the cantaloupe, stuck the firecracker inside, lit it up. It sounded like a freaking gunshot. It echoed through the hills.
Probably
Of course,
louder than most gunshots, honestly.
we were stupid, so like in our minds we're like, oh man, that was amazing, cantaloupe flying everywhere, let's do another one. We blow up another thing, we blow up the cupcake, and I remember specifically the cupcake was really underwhelming after the cantaloupe because
Yeah.
it just didn't have a lot of substance to it.
Melons are awesome to blow up.
Yeah, but then it occurred to us after three or so big booms,
Somebody might
we were like, somebody might notice that what's going on. So we went down, and if you've been to Kazi Elementary School, you can picture this.
Yeah.
There's the buildings, there's a big field, and there's a hill leading up to these woods.
Yep.
We went down to the edge of the woods, and we're looking around like, okay, we don't see anything. All of a sudden, we look over the top of the elementary school, and we see a cop car driving down one side of the building towards...
Oh no.
And Jimmy goes, screw it, we gotta run. So we booked it down the hill. We sprinted as fast as we possibly could to the other side of the building from where the police car was coming. And as we were crossing where he wouldn't be able to see us, we saw the nose of his car poking out on the other side of the building. I don't think I have ever gotten into a car faster. We got into Jimmy's car. We booked it out of there as fast as we could, and we got
30 miles an hour exactly.
Because if you go faster than that in Kazi, you get a ticket.
Oh my gosh.
But that was
hilarious.
that was the statute of limitations is up, so we cannot be convicted. But that was that was my firecrackers with Jimmy story.
I've only heard half of that story before.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
I
That's
appreciate
good
that
stuff.
you were doing it responsibly and blowing things up on the ground, not trying to throw them. Because that
you.
is, like you were saying, throwing firecrackers is like
That's how you get your
number
hand
one
blow off.
thing that everybody does that's really sketches me out, and you shouldn't do.
Well, that's not where I thought the firework discussion was going to go, but that was amazing. Real quick, what are some of the tips you learned from Facebook of how to take care of dogs? Because that's the other discussion we hear a lot is dogs with fireworks go crazy. My dogs were outside dogs and just barked and thought fireworks were cool. But I've heard that a lot of dogs freak out. So what were some of the tips you learned?
Yeah, and my dogs are both young enough that they're not a year old yet, so neither of them has been through a 4th of July, so I don't exactly know how they're going to respond to it. A lot of people were saying to give the dogs Benadryl, but I also got a couple of comments saying the Benadryl actually doesn't really do what you need it to. So it might be one of those things that everybody thinks but is not actually true.
Okay.
I went to the pet store and bought they're like calming hemp treats.
Oh.
So you go.
Julio just got thrown out at third stealing
lame.
because he slid in ahead of the tag but couldn't get stopped before he slid up.
Oh, gosh.
slid too
I
fast.
thought you were going to
Brutal.
tell me that he was
so
hurt.
brutal. No,
You
I'm
had that
sorry.
kind of-
Oh,
It's
the
just
way you
scary.
reacted to that, dude. Oh,
I'm
my
sorry.
gosh.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. That was unintentional. It should have been intentional.
Okay.
I would have done it intentionally if
Sorry.
I would have
Anyway.
thought
I
of it.
would say the most common advice was Benadryl or calming treats. There's a liquid form and a solid form.
Okay.
And then just kind of lots of attention and comfort.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
My wife is who would actually be the person to ask about this.
I was going to
Works
ask
in a
her,
vet.
but for
she's-
some reason she
she's
left
busy.
immediately when I got here.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, Justin's here. Bye.
She's helping set up the 3rd of July party.
Okay.
All right.
But I will say I know that Cucumber has a prescription that helps a lot, and Cucumber is our dog that really hates fireworks. She hates fireworks and firearms. When they start happening, she goes into the bathroom and climbs into the tub.
Cucumber.
But so she has a prescription for something that I'm assuming is a lot heavier than Benadryl, probably some kind of doggy Xanax, and that does help. But I would recommend talking to your vet about something like that, and then
I would have if I had thought of it before today.
For young dogs, I really think a lot of it can be how you treat it too. Where with Pax last night when we were, the neighbors were setting it off, we were just basically rewarding when fireworks were going off and he was like, "What's happening?" We were just treating him like he just did something nice. You know, like good dog,
Gotcha.
acting excited.
Positive reinforcement.
So
Gotcha.
that it's not a scary thing. I don't know. A lot of dogs are just going to be scared of loud noises.
Yeah.
But growing up with hunting dogs, they tended to just be really excited. Like,
That makes sense.
There's booms going on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We promised a shorter show and
I
we
know.
lied.
I'm sorry.
Liar.
We had so many good topics. I'm sorry. I feel like it was my fault. I
It's
apologize.
a good show, though.
It was.
I
It was a
forgive you,
fun
even
show.
though this is a horrible infraction on your part that neither of us had anything to do with.
My brother says that my brother enjoyed the firecracker story from Justin. He says, "I'm
does.
dying. Perfect picture in my mind." Also,
Yes.
throwing firecrackers is lit. At this point, we need a Cucumber segment more than a Mariners segment.
We can have a Cucumber segment. Just talk about her every week.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
She's a great dog.
All right, I think that's going to do it for our show today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our sponsors, Ole Penn Real Estate and the Law Office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz. For my co-host, Justin, turns out he's related to Kira Gardner Domashevitz.
I said basically related. And for my co-host, Daniel, the college football fixer, Hargrove.
Wait. That sounds like
You
a
fixed
betting
college
scandal.
Fix college football.
Double meaning.
And our producer, Andrew, let's blow something up. Gross. You promised me that you were going to work on blowing something up. Are we going to video it?
We can blow things up.
I like blowing things up.
That's like what you do for 4th of July is you blow things up.
You've been listening to the Scrimmage.
Happy Independence Day.
It's what the founding fathers would want.